Victor had always loved the forest. Since childhood, towering trees and endless trails had felt like a second home. When life in the city became too loud, too fast, he found peace among the quiet whispers of the woods. He knew these paths well, or so he thought. The day began calm enough. The sun barely peeked through heavy gray clouds as Victor set out with his fishing rod and a light backpack. He parked his old pickup near the edge of the forest and ventured deep into the heart of the trees. By noon, he was sitting by a slow-moving river, cooking a fresh-caught trout over a small fire. It was perfect. No emails, no phone calls, just the soothing rhythm of nature. As the afternoon wore on, the sky darkened ominously. Victor packed up, checked his compass, and decided to take a shortcut, a narrow, less-traveled path that would shave an hour off his walk back. The mist rolled in thicker with every step. He moved carefully, but wet leaves concealed hidden dangers. Halfway down a steep slope, his boot caught on a root. He stumbled. Then he slipped. Victor's body tumbled down the incline, thudding against rocks and branches. He landed hard, pain screaming through his right leg. When he tried to stand, he collapsed with a grunt. Panic flooded him. His ankle, no, his entire lower leg, felt wrong, twisted, broken. He patted his jacket for his phone. The screen was spiderwebbed, dead. The sun dipped behind the hills, and the forest grew colder. Victor, stranded at the bottom of a hidden ravine, realized he was in serious trouble. Victor knew one thing for certain. If he stayed still all night without help, he could freeze to death. Summoning his strength, he tried to crawl. Each movement sent fresh waves of pain through him. After barely a few meters, he had to stop. He screamed for help. His voice echoed uselessly off the trees. The village was miles away. Night descended, the temperature plummeted. Victor lay shivering, teeth chattering uncontrollably. Every instinct screamed at him to keep moving, to do something. But he was too injured, too cold, and too alone. As his consciousness began to slip, he thought of his family, his mother's warm hugs, his younger brother's laughter, the girl he loved but never had the courage to tell. Tears froze against his cheeks. The last thing he saw before darkness took him was a pair of glowing eyes in the mist. Victor awoke to a warm weight pressed against him. At first, he thought it was a dream, the comforting warmth, the rhythmic breathing. Slowly, painfully, he opened his eyes. A large gray dog was curled beside him, its thick coat shielding him from the cold. Victor's heart hammered. He had heard of wild dogs, wolves even, roaming deep forests. But this animal wasn't threatening. It was breathing slowly, calmly, keeping him warm. The dog raised its head, yellow eyes gleaming in the darkness. It sniffed Victor's face once, then laid back down against him, sighing as if saying, "You're not alone now." Victor didn't dare move. He barely dared breathe. But deep inside, something shifted. He was no longer just a man lost in the woods. He had an ally. The long hours of the night dragged on. Whenever Victor began to drift into dangerous unconsciousness, the dog would nudge him, licking his face, forcing him awake. Once or twice, the dog left. Victor whimpered at the loss of heat. But it always returned, carrying small clumps of moss, dry twigs, and dead leaves. It began piling them around Victor as if trying to build a nest. Victor marveled at the animal's intelligence. "You're saving me, aren't you?" he whispered through numb lips. The dog tilted its head, then licked his hand. At dawn, a thin, watery light filtered through the trees. The forest was eerily quiet, wrapped in mist. Victor's body ached terribly. He knew he wouldn't last another night out here. He needed help, now. As if sensing his desperation, the dog stood up.
It sniffed the air, ears pricked forward. Then, with a low whine, it sprinted into the trees, disappearing from sight. Victor wanted to scream. He was alone again. Minutes dragged into what felt like hours. Then, voices, shouting, barking. Victor forced his head up. Between the trees, bright jackets, flashlights, people, the dog had found help. Rescuers rushed down into the ravine. "Stay with us, buddy," one of them said, kneeling beside Victor. Another wrapped him in a thermal blanket. They worked quickly but carefully, immobilizing his broken leg and setting up a stretcher.
"How the hell did you survive the night?" one rescuer murmured. Victor smiled weakly. "A dog. He stayed with me." The rescuers exchanged glances. "We saw a big stray running toward us," one said. "Led us straight here." Tears filled Victor's eyes. "He saved me," Victor whispered. As they lifted him onto the stretcher, Victor craned his neck, searching the misty woods. But the dog, his savior, was nowhere to be seen. Victor spent weeks recovering in the hospital. His leg was fractured in 3 places, but doctors marveled at how little frostbite he had. Another few hours alone, they said, and it would have been much worse. All Victor could think about was the dog. He asked everyone in the village. He printed flyers with a photo of a big gray dog, as best he could describe him. No one came forward. "Wild dog," some said. "A ghost," others whispered. Victor refused to believe the dog had vanished forever. It happened one rainy afternoon, weeks later. Victor was walking, limping really, along the forest's edge with his crutches when he spotted a flash of gray fur near the trees. He froze. "Hey," he called softly. The figure paused. 2 familiar yellow eyes stared back at him. Slowly, carefully, Victor knelt, ignoring the sharp pain in his leg. He held out a piece of cooked meat from his jacket pocket. He had started carrying it everywhere, just in case. The dog approached cautiously, ears flattened in hesitation. Inches away, it stopped, sniffed Victor's hand, then licked it. Victor's heart broke and healed all at once. "You came back," he whispered, tears in his eyes. From that day on, Ludi, as Victor named him, became family. No leash could hold him. He chose to stay. No commands needed. He understood Victor better than anyone else. 2 survivors, 2 friends, forever bonded by one night in the mist.